The Dallas Cowboys have done it again, but this time it feels different, and that's exactly why ESPN panels across the network are having conversations that would have sounded impossible just a few months ago. After the Cowboys' statement win over the Detroit Lions, the discussion is no longer about whether Dallas can win games in the regular season or whether they can beat good teams at home. It's The conversation has shifted to something much bigger, much louder, and much more uncomfortable for people who have doubted this team for years. Is Dak Prescott an MVP candidate, and are the Cowboys actually a legitimate Super Bowl threat? That question alone tells you how much the narrative has changed. This was not supposed to happen. This was not supposed to be the storyline, but football has a way of forcing people to confront what they see on the field. And what everyone saw against the Lions was a Cowboys team that looked confident, disciplined, physical, and led by a quarterback who played with complete control of the game from start to finish. Coming into the matchup, Detroit was viewed as one of the most complete and dangerous teams in the NFL. They are tough, aggressive, well coached, and they play a brand of football that usually exposes teams that are not mentally or physically prepared. The Lions don't beat themselves, and they don't rely on gimmicks. They line up, they punch you in the mouth, and they dare you to respond. That's why this win mattered so much. This wasn't Dallas beating a struggling team or padding stats against a weak opponent. This was a measuring stick game. And the Cowboys didn't just survive it, they controlled it. From the opening drive, you could feel that Dallas wasn't playing tight or desperate. They weren't forcing throws, they weren't rushing decisions, and they weren't trying to prove anything. They were simply executing, and that calm confidence started with Dak Prescott. Dak's performance against Detroit wasn't flashy in the way casual fans might expect. There weren't reckless throws, unnecessary risks, or moments where he tried to play hero ball. Instead, what stood out was his command of the offense. He was reading the defense pre-snap, making adjustments at the line, and consistently finding the right matchup. Like when pressure came, he didn't panic. When plays broke down, he didn't force the ball into danger. He trusted the system, trusted his teammates, and trusted himself. ESPN analysts immediately picked up on that, pointing out that this version of Dak Prescott looks like a quarterback who understands exactly who he is and what his team needs from him. That's not a small thing. That's the difference between a good quarterback and a great one. What really sparked the MVP conversation on ESPN wasn't just Dak's stats, but the way he influenced the entire game. MVP is supposed to be about value, and against the Lions, Dak's value was obvious. The Cowboys moved the ball with purpose, sustained drives, converted on critical downs, and controlled the tempo. Detroit never felt like they could dictate the flow of the game, and that's rare against a team as physical and disciplined as the Lions. Analysts noted that when Dak plays like this, the Cowboys aren't just competitive, they're dominant. That's a powerful statement, especially considering how much criticism Dak has faced throughout his career. For years, the narrative was that he couldn't win big games, that he folded under pressure, or that he was holding the Cowboys back. Now, those same voices are being forced to acknowledge that he's playing some of the best football of his career. The numbers back it up, but what makes this stretch so impressive is how Dak is getting those numbers. He's not relying on broken plays or scrambling for his life. He's winning from the pocket, which is still the gold standard for elite quarterback play in the NFL. He's making throws on time, anticipating windows, and protecting the football. ESPN analysts emphasized that his touchdown to interception ratio, completion percentage, and overall efficiency place him among the top quarterbacks in the league this season. But beyond that, his decision-making has been elite. He's not putting the defense in bad situations. He's not giving opponents short fields. He's playing clean football, and that's something that often gets overlooked in MVP discussions because It's not always flashy, but coaches, players, and analysts know how valuable that is, especially when the games start to matter more. Another reason the ESPN conversation has shifted is because this Cowboys team feels more balanced than previous versions. In the past, Dallas often relied on one side of the ball to carry them. If the offense struggled, the defense couldn't always compensate, and vice versa. Against Detroit, the Cowboys played complementary football. The offense sustained drives and controlled the clock, which kept the defense fresh. The defense, in turn, made key stops and prevented Detroit from building momentum. That kind of balance is what championship teams are built on. Analysts pointed out that the Cowboys don't need everything to be perfect to win games. They can win ugly, they can win methodically, and they can win with discipline. That's a huge change from the Cowboys teams we've seen in the past that often lived on big plays and emotional swings. Dak's maturity has also become a major talking point. This is not the same quarterback who entered the league trying to prove he belonged. This is a veteran who understands the moments within a game. He knows when to take shots and when to live for the next play. He's not chasing stats, and he's not letting outside noise influence his decisions. ESPN analysts mentioned that Dak looks comfortable being the steady presence rather than the superstar. That might sound strange, but it's often the quarterbacks who stop trying to be superheroes that end up playing their best football. This version of Dak seems comfortable letting the game come to him, and that's made the entire offense more efficient and more dangerous. Now, when it comes to the MVP debate, there is no denying that the race is crowded. The NFL is loaded with elite quarterback play, and Dak isn't running away with the award. But what ESPN panels emphasized is that context matters. Dak is playing under immense pressure. He's the quarterback of the most scrutinized team in sports, and every mistake is magnified. Despite that, he's leading his team to wins, playing efficient football and showing consistent growth. MVP voters often consider narrative, and the idea of Dak Prescott leading the Cowboys to the top of the NFC after years of doubt is a powerful storyline. If Dallas continues to win and Dak continues to play mistake-free football, it's impossible to ignore his candidacy. The Super Bowl conversation is where things get really interesting. For years, analysts have been hesitant to take Dallas seriously when it comes to championship talk, and for good reason. The Cowboys have burned people before, but ESPN panels were noticeably more cautious this time, not dismissive. The tone wasn't, "This team will collapse," but rather, "This team has the tools." That's a massive shift. Yeah, analysts pointed out that if Dak continues to play at this level, the Cowboys can beat anyone in the league. That doesn't guarantee a Super Bowl appearance, but it puts them firmly in the conversation. And for a team that has been chasing legitimacy for so long, being in that conversation matters. What stands out most is that this Cowboys team isn't loud about it. They're not making bold proclamations or talking about championships publicly. They're letting their play speak for them. ESPN analysts noted that this quiet confidence is often a sign of a mature team. They know what's ahead, and they're focused on execution rather than hype. Dak embodies that approach. He's not engaging with critics, and he's not feeding into the MVP chatter. He's taking it one game at a time, and that mindset is contagious. When your quarterback is calm and focused, the rest of the team tends to follow. As the season moves forward, the pressure will only increase. Every game will be analyzed, every throw dissected, and every mistake magnified. But based on what we've seen, Dak Prescott looks ready for that spotlight. The win over the Lions wasn't just another mark in the win column. It was a statement that this Cowboys team is evolving. They're smarter, more disciplined, and more resilient. ESPN didn't crown them champions, but they did something just as important, is that they acknowledged that Dallas is no longer just a regular season team. They acknowledged that Dak Prescott is no longer just a good quarterback. He's playing like a leader, a veteran, and yes, an MVP candidate. Now the question shifts to the fans and the rest of the league. Do you believe it? Do you trust what you're seeing, or do you need to see it again and again and again, especially when the stakes are highest? That's the beauty of this moment. The Cowboys have forced everyone to pay attention, and Dak Prescott has forced everyone to reconsider. Whether this ends in an MVP award, a deep playoff run, or something even bigger, one thing is clear. The narrative has changed, and the Cowboys are no longer knocking on the door. They're standing right in the conversation, and the rest of the NFL